Welcome to the Best Little Town Podcast, your go-to source for everything happening in the town of Bedford's local government. Whether it's new initiatives or important decisions shaping our town's future, you'll hear it right here. Brought to you by Grove Street FM and hosted by Town Manager Bart Warner. This podcast is dedicated to keeping our residents informed and engaged.
Good Thursday morning, February 15th, everyone. My name is Bart Warner, Town Manager of Bedford. I want to welcome you to this edition of the Best Little Town Podcast. A little bit unusual circumstances. Ordinarily, we cover this the day after council meetings, but I had to attend a meeting in Roanoke yesterday, and through the generosity of our partners, Media Squatch, we were able to come to you a day late perhaps, but hopefully with good information that will keep you attached to your local government and informed. Jumping right in, Town Council met on Tuesday night, February the 13th. I began by reporting on a couple of items. This past Friday, the Town Economic Development Authority met to discuss the Bedford Middle School project. Members of that group voted to grant an extension of the performance agreement to Waukesha, which are the developers involved in constructing the project, subject to approval by Town Council, rather. The dates of the extensions given were to January 1st, 2025 for completion of the apartments in the main brick building, and to April 1st, 2025 for the boutique hotel to be constructed in what's affectionately known as Old Yellow, the yellow stucco building. Dave McCormick, who is the principal of Waukesha Development, is offering rescheduled tours of the site to members of the EDA as well as council members, and those will take place on Thursday, February 22nd. I will also note that Town Council will take this matter up at their next meeting, which occurs on Tuesday, February 27th at 7 o'clock p.m. We also extended congratulations to the Liberty High School Scholastic Bowl team, which won the Region 2C championship and will compete for the state title in Williamsburg next weekend. On an administrative note, we noted that town offices will be closed on Monday, February 19th, in observance of a state-recognized holiday. That's actually President's Day, which is a federal holiday. And in case folks are curious, the town follows the holiday schedule that is adopted by the state and published by the governor's office. There are quite a few days off in the course of a year, and some of them are a little bit at random, but we follow the guidance of the state, and that is published if anybody's curious about it. We also try to include that information on the town website. We were joined by a citizen who asked the town to revisit its solar policy in terms of extra power that is generated by homes that might go back into the system. Currently, the town does not permit what's referred to as net metering. For folks who have solar power, basically they use all that power themselves for their own purposes. On rare occasions, there may be instances where there is additional electricity that could go back into the system. Currently, the town does not permit that, and there are several complicated reasons behind that. First and foremost are some safety issues. There's some building code matters that have to be dealt with to make sure that anything electrical passes into the system safely. And there are also issues with our interconnection with AEP. While we do not purchase power directly from AEP, we are interconnected into their system, and the electricity we buy passes through them. So there are also issues of load transferring back and forth there. I think council certainly is willing to discuss that matter, and obviously the interest of the individual customers is that they would like to be able to see some more benefit of having private solar power, and from an efficiency standpoint, that's something we will consider in the future. Jumping into the new business agenda from Tuesday night, a lot of what I would call housekeeping matters, one of which relates to accounting for insurance payments. Like everybody else, sometimes we have accidents, and some things that affect our operations and our equipment, and we have to submit insurance claims. Our insurance carrier submits payment for that back to our general fund, which in the past has just gone into the large pool of revenues for the entire town. What we're doing now is making sure that the specific funds for specific activities go back into the cases involved. So if we have a fender bender with a police car, once we get the payment for that from our insurance, we make sure we reimburse our expenditure line item to keep everything whole. Again, that's kind of down in the weeds, but one of our great efforts is to be transparent in all we do and to make sure that council is fully aware of these activities as well. And to accomplish that, Tuesday night, we had to allocate some resources in the budget in both the general fund and the electric fund. Council was also made aware of an issue regarding a potential real estate tax refund to a large property owner within town. That was actually brought to our attention by the Commissioner of the Revenue's office. Again, for folks who are not aware, the town receives its data for assessment of taxes from the county. The Commissioner of the Revenue is an elected official. That office is tasked with setting or identifying the data by which taxes are based on. We get that information from them. Of course, we're all probably familiar that there was a reassessment within the last couple of years. There's also an appeals process associated with that. And there's a board of equalization appointed by the county to consider requests for maybe some differences or reexamination of cases. And in this particular instance, there was a property owner in town which has apparently been granted an exception, but council had a lot of questions about that, and there are still some procedural matters to be addressed, and ultimately that item was tabled Tuesday night. The other item of new business related to campaign finance reporting. This was initiated by council and the town attorney, and basically it relates to advertising to make sure that when people are running for office and posting signs and advertisements, that people know who is responsible for that and behind those matters. Again, council expressed that's mainly an issue of transparency for them to make sure that people know who is running for council and all the factors related there. Largely a matter of politics, so as the administrator, I'll steer clear of that one, but that's another matter that they will continue to discuss in conjunction with the town attorney. The last item of new business we had was a presentation by our finance director, Ann Cantrell, and our information technology administrator, Jonathan Holmes, basically giving an overview of all the things they do on a regular, daily, monthly, yearly basis. And admittedly, it's a lot of work that they both perform. I would encourage you, if you're able to go on the YouTube channel and search for the Town of Bedford and watch the entire meeting and watch that presentation. A lot of good information. I will say that the town does our best to manage matters of business continuity, but that's challenging because we kind of have a foot in the future and a foot in the past, and challenges with infrastructure both ways. So I think Jonathan Holmes did a really good job of explaining how we support the information and computer systems that keep our town going on a daily basis. But he acknowledged that we still have to continuously work to maintain and upgrade our systems. Very interesting information. Candidly, a lot of it's out of my depth, so I really appreciate the contributions of Ann Cantrell and her finance staff, as well as Jonathan Holmes and Daryl Fouts, who are the two folks who keep our systems running in place with our other partners. And that's very important, and obviously when it doesn't happen, we know about it. We're not down very often, and on the rare occasion we are, they get us back up quickly. So in addition to all the other hardworking folks with the town, we just appreciate all their efforts. Town council did go into closed session Tuesday night to discuss the property that the town owns adjacent to the Stony Creek Reservoir. I can report that the background of this issue is about 10 years or so ago when the town gave up the water and sewer operation to the Bedford Regional Water Authority. There was a transfer of assets and properties, including the reservoir, up on Wheats Valley Road. Now, in addition to the reservoir itself, there are some large parcels of land attached to it. And in fact, there are several individual tax parcels that were involved in this transfer. When that was accomplished about 10 years ago, it wasn't a matter of the town simply handing over all of the properties to the Bedford Regional Water Authority. There were some that were retained, and there were actions taken by council at different meetings that made those transfers a little complicated again because there were a lot of moving parts. This issue was brought up about a year ago when some persons expressed an interest in purchasing some of the remaining property that was not transferred. And frankly, right now, the town is still trying to determine some of these surveying and property ownership issues. And that was this discussion in closed session that took place Tuesday night. Still some things to be untangled. Ultimately, town council directed me and the town attorney, Mike Lockaby, to confer with our counterparts at the Water Authority first to see what they need. And I can tell you that any concerns about water quality or impacts upon Stony Creek Reservoir are paramount in that discussion. And that's why we're basically conferring with the Water Authority first to make sure that those safety concerns are addressed, as well as the interests of the authority, and to make sure that we all understand clearly what was supposed to have happened 10 years ago and that we get it right moving forward. And otherwise, town council also went into closed session with me to talk about my relationship, which I'm pleased to report continues to be good. Just for informational purposes, and maybe this is a good time for me to explain it because I'm in the midst of the Virginia Local Government Management Association meeting, and one of the things my colleagues and I talked about just yesterday at the board meeting was the fact that a lot of people don't understand the structure of local government in Virginia. And just for the sake of information, just wanted to explain that in our organizational chart, the citizens are at the top. They elect the town council. Town council makes policies and formulates the direction of the town. And then it becomes the responsibility of town staff to implement those policies and that vision. And so my role as town manager is kind of the thin part of the hourglass between the citizens and council and then the rest of the organization. My role is to provide professional advice and guidance, which is not binding upon council, ultimately to carry out the directives that they see fit to pronounce, and to do so in an objective and unbiased way. My position is not elected. I am appointed by council, and I serve at the will and pleasure of the council. I have an employment contract, which is something we discussed the other night, but I don't have a specific term of office. In the case of Bedford, the town manager is appointed for an indefinite term. But going back to the will and pleasure part of it, essentially at any given time, if a majority of council wants to make a change, they will inform me and we will act accordingly. So I am blessed to be here and I appreciate being a part of it. There are some checks and balances both ways with council and the manager in this form of government, but the idea is to allow council and the elected officials and the citizens the freedom to engage in the political discussions they need to have, but to have a professional staff that manages the business side of it, which is intended to be nonpartisan. And of course, the biggest thing we do is try to maintain the services on a reliable, efficient, and daily basis. So that's the update from this past Tuesday. Our next meeting is Tuesday, February the 27th at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. We would cordially invite anyone who's interested to join us. We will also be live streaming, again, with our partnership with Media Squatch and their generosity. And of course, we post recorded meetings on the YouTube site as well. As always, if you have a concern or an idea or a suggestion, feel free to contact us directly. The main phone number at Town Hall is 540-587-6001. You can contact me directly by email at bwarner@bedfordva.gov, or you can ring my line directly at 540-587-6022. We're always happy to get input of any kind because we want to make sure we're meeting expectations and doing the best job we can, and it's certainly our pleasure to serve you. Again, I hope this finds all our listeners doing well. I hope that the cold and flu season is not being too harsh on folks, but we encourage people to take care of themselves and their families and take care of the community and be well. And we wish everyone all the best. And we look forward to spring. And we thank you for being residents of the world's best little town.